Well, good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another episode of Unbreakable Enterprises. Guess what? We are here in the year of alignment, and I cannot believe it. It is already January 22nd. We are just cruising down this highway of 2026. And one of the things that we talk about on this highway is making sure that we are in alignment. And that is what our theme is this entire year of 2026. You see, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of distractions that are pulling at you in life, in business, in relationships, all over the place. And our goal for 2026 with Unbreakable Enterprises is to help you maintain the alignment of your purpose and plan in all that you put your hands to. And today, my special guest, Dr. Shmeka Gibson, is here joining me in the Unbreakable studio. I'm very excited to have her here with me today. You've probably seen her on the Unbreakable stage in the past, and I can't wait to talk today specifically about alignment and leadership. So, friends, business owners, consultants, grab your favorite beverage, grab a spot to get cozy, and let's dig into this conversation. Dr. Shmeka, welcome.
Oh, I'm about to say welcome.
Welcome.
Say welcome. Thank you for having me, Teresa. Feels good to be here again, having a conversation with you.
Well, our conversations are always so enriching, and I am blessed to have you not only in the Unbreakable community, but also as a friend and a guide in many things that I get to do in life. So, speaking of leadership, I always appreciate your leadership and direction and thoughtfulness. Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate yours too, friend.
Thank you.
Working together.
We work together. We work together. And you know what? That's aligned relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. Well, Dr. Shmeka, would you please just take a moment and share with our guests just a little bit about you? I know you wear a lot of hats, and we're not going to go into the busy word. Oh, we might go into the busy word. We don't know exactly where we're going today. But I know you wear a lot of hats. But one thing that you have been incredibly gifted at is your ability to set boundaries and to say, this is an alignment to where I'm going, what I'm doing, and you help organizations do just that. But let's take a moment, and I would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience today and tell them a little bit about, what you do behind the scenes and out on center stage.
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Dr. Shmeka Gibson, and I am the founder and executive director of Changing the Mindset. Changing the Mindset is a nonprofit organization that provides resources and support to individuals and workplaces that are experiencing toxic work environments, individuals that are experiencing workplace stress, workplace trauma. We provide mental health coaching, counseling to individuals that are experiencing traumatic work experiences. And then we provide support to organizations that are experiencing toxic work environments to create healthy work environments and healthy workplace cultures. And so that's my full-time job. And within that, we also do some workplace coaching that may lead over into things like helping organizations with organizational infrastructure development, fundraising, all of the things that could potentially be a concern or a pain point for organizations, because most people think that when an organization is having a toxic environment, that it's just two employees that don't like each other, but it could be that the organization is dealing with some financial problems and they need some help with raising funds. So they will hire a grant writer of some sort. In many cases, it would be me to come in and do some financial strategy sessions with them. Or let's just say that it's a operations issue. They don't have SOPs, which are standard operating processes and procedures in place to guide the organization to make good choices to be sustainable, or board governance issues. Many organizations, especially nonprofits, need help with their board. So we kind of do everything. It's not just about the mental health piece, but it's also helping organizations be successful and sustainable. We are adding some new components to Changing the Mindset. We're going to be pivoting again for the last time and moving into the workforce development field. So it will be centered around helping working professionals be successful and sustainable by providing that workforce development component in addition to the mental health piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I do during the day. And then outside of that, I also teach. I'm a college professor, which is my first love, my first passion. I enjoy teaching the young adults and some seasoned adults that are trying to navigate. I just talked to a student today, 50 years old, that's changing his degree path. He's going to be a MD, 50 years old. So,
Wow.
yeah. And mom, pet owner,
Yeah.
and just navigating life.
Navigating life.
Yeah.
I love that. When we first met, of course, it was through changing the mindset, and you spoke at the Unbreakable stage, and that really was before we had really had a sit down
Right.
conversation. So we were just getting to know each other, and since then, you have shown so many areas that you've helped organizations. But today, I would love to go into a little bit of the conversation around. Um, when you're working with organizations, and you're seeing this all over the place, I'm sure, like, we can turn on the news, we can turn on social media, people are grasping for things. I think they're exhausted mentally, they're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and you're working with, organizations, and if the human race is overstimulated and overwhelmed, how does that transcend in the workplace?
Oh man. When you're dealing with just being in a place of confusion is what we like to often call it as well. Like if you're overwhelmed and yeah, you are confused, meaning that you're trying to navigate many areas of your life. There's no clarity
Right.
there, right? And what we've learned with working with professionals that's dealing with toxic work experience or working in toxic environments is that there's no balance in their personal life,
Mhm.
or there's no control in their
Mhm.
personal life. And in many cases, they take that to the environment where they may have control. So let's talk about leaderships. We can talk about employees all day, but mainly leadership,
Sure.
because those individuals that are dealing with conflict, that conflict spills down into the environment where they feel they have the control.
Mhm.
Right. So if you're dealing with a a leader professional, whether it's an executive or C-suite staff or just anyone in a managerial role where they're overseeing people,
Right.
if there's no balance and structure and control in their personal life, then they're going to take that into the working environment, and then they're going to spill and bleed on, what we like to say, bleeding on people that didn't cut you.
Right.
You are behaving in an environment where you feel like you can enforce authority and control, and it creates a toxic environment.
Mm.
Um, in many cases with those type of individuals, we really try to get to the root cause of the problem, right? We may not be able to help with what you're dealing with at home. We may refer you out to somebody else that can help you with that. But in many cases, if your problems are outside of the workplace, but your behaviors are in the workplace, it could be something else that's causing those
Sure.
behaviors. And we need to get to the root cause of that so we can help you be just a better person in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pressure, right, from a leadership perspective right now. I mean, I think about the most small business owners are dealing with this, and larger organizations, I think, as well. There's this increased pressure to perform
Yeah.
at a faster rate
Mhm.
with less team members. So
Mhm.
that means less
Less money.
human support, less
Less money.
money, right? We're also seeing situations right now where financial institutions are cutting funding.
Yeah.
And so when we see that happening, that means working capital lines of credit are being cut, which is what a lot of small businesses, I think, rely on for
Mhm.
payroll as they're,
Mhm.
you know, dealing with accounts receivables, etc. So you've got all this pressure on them, and I think you're absolutely right. There's this external pressure to be faster than AI, which I don't think that there's an ability to be faster than AI.
Mm-mm.
Like, it doesn't sleep.
No.
Last I checked, we still need sleep, right? Uh, yes, we need sleep. But there's this pressure that's out there. And Dr. Shmeka, with the work that you do, talk to us a little bit about maybe what one of your conversations could look like
Mhm.
if you see that a leader is struggling, and you can read the writing on the wall, like the
Right.
work that you're doing. It's clear that our emotional need is to have some certainty. And if
Mhm.
it's completely uncertain out in the world, then I know how to create certainty here, but that's not necessarily giving somebody else certainty, my
Right.
direct reports, et cetera. So talk to us about maybe what those conversations or that discovery could look like so that the leader still feels empowered to be a
Mhm.
leader and they are given the tools to lead better.
Right. So the type of work I do is more on the coaching side. So I can be a little bit more assertive than a therapist would probably be, where they may take a little bit more of a humanistic approach, where
Sure.
they may be more, they may allow the client the ability to do that self discovery on their own and they kind of support them through the process.
Sure.
In my case, I jump into it head on. When I meet with any executive that I'm working with, manager, supervisor, executive, any leader that I'm working with, um, I will complete a personality assessment. I think personality assessments are very important because you get to
Right.
learn my personality type and then you get to understand why I engage the way that I do. But then also, I think it's important to understand that leaders' personality style and personality type. Most leaders have not taken a personality assessment.
Mhm.
Many leaders are placed in a position
Before.
without
Right.
proper training.
Right.
Some organizations do not do the best job when it comes to um, professionally developing their next line of leaders.
Right. Right.
So they'll see someone that's been in an department. Pretty much, they may be the most seasoned person in the department after the current leadership transitions, and they say, "Hey, you next,"
Right, right, and that
and
creates
"Hey, you next."
I will have to say, because in the banking world, and I understand organizations, they have this pressure to promote from within. They want to
Mhm.
create this community and this environment that we allow our people to be elevated, and
Absolutely.
we wanna create this environment where you can stay here, right? Where you can make more money and be here.
Mhm.
But I think you're absolutely right. I remember when I first, took on a leadership
Mhm.
role in the bank, and I sit back and I think, oh my god. Did I really have those did I really talk to somebody that way? And just because I
Yeah.
didn't know, right? And if I went from being a top producer, which I did, into a place of now I'm responsible for other people's attitudes and other
Right.
people's production and performance who may or may not have the
Mhm.
same type of work ethic or desire or
Mhm.
motivations that I have, but you're not taught how to do that. Oh my gosh, that was so scary. I thank God that my first run of leadership was 1 year at one location, and I got, like, a pass as I moved on. Like, I learned a lot in that year. But talk to us about how that affects teams, because I know
Yeah.
how it affected mine, but tell me what you've seen.
And that's so the alignment. It's so interesting that you say that because I have a similar example, but mine was I came from another organization where leadership was a little bit more aggressive.
Sure.
Right. Very strict timelines. And rightfully so, because we worked with children and families.
Mm,
Funding was very stringent. We had very tight timelines that we needed to meet in order to get funding, right?
mhm.
Or to receive those reimbursements. So I had to be aggressive with my staff. I had to be um hovering over them, making sure that they're completing assignments. But our leadership treated us the same. So it
Sure.
was not the servant leadership that I learned when I went to a new company, which was like a workplace culture shock for me.
Sure it
Because at
was.
this point, I come from an environment where it's like, do what you're supposed to do. You gotta meet your deadlines. You get it right up.
Right.
You get your pink slip. To an organization where it's more like, oh, you have to be gentle when you talk to them. You have to go through the progressive disciplinary
How
process.
hard was that for you when you first got there? You're like, "What am I
I'm
doing?"
I said, "You let these people get away with anything." I mean, it was very tough for me,
Sure.
but it was tough for my team
Sure.
because I went into a new environment where the leadership was a little bit more relaxed
Mm,
and they allowed the staff to develop and grow and work at a pace that was comfortable for them.
right.
But I'm used to working in an environment where it's deadlines, timelines, and if you don't meet these goals, then you're out of here.
Right.
So I really felt like that there was no structure. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't work in this environment. This is ludicrous.
This is chaos.
And I can honestly, and I tell everyone this story because this was the defining moments for me,
Mm,
and also what made me change my degree as well because I was working on my PhD in counseling. And that's when I changed it to IO psychology, which is workplace
Right.
psychology, because at that point, I'm trying to understand the behaviors of the individuals in the working environment and how did I end up here?
Mm,
So I'm in this environment now with team members where I can't adjust to the environment and they can't adjust to me.
sure.
So when I start implementing structure in a department, that within a year they promoted me to department head because I was just a supervisor.
Mm,
And then they promoted me to department head. So I had a year to adjust. And not only that, I was promoted without warning. There was no job posting.
mm,
The other staff that was there longer than me did not get an opportunity to apply.
mm,
So now I have all of these marks against me.
mm,
And what I learned was that we was fighting each other, the staff and myself, when it was actually the organization that kind of put us in this pit against each other.
sure. Sure.
Because if the organization would have given these staff an opportunity to apply and then decline them and then tell them why, I think they would have received it better because it was never about me.
Mm,
I learned after the fact because within another year, I was promoted to another position.
wow.
So now you have these staff that are looking at this lady came in. She was the first manager that we had for this program. We don't know her from anywhere. Then you promoted her within a year, and then
Mhm.
you promote her again. And
Sure.
we didn't even like her.
Right.
Like they filed grievances, they were upset, but it was never about me. It was about
It
the
was about how they
position.
felt
It
and
was
how they were treated.
absolute, and
Yeah.
no one acknowledged their
Mm,
feelings. They were an angry group of people, and they should have been.
mm,
And when I transitioned out of that department, I was able to develop relationships with these people in this department. They actually got to know Shmeka for Shmeka. They hated me,
mm,
but it wasn't about me. It was about what that organization did that created that toxic environment
sure.
that we didn't understand until I transitioned out. And I was on the outside looking in.
Right.
And when I realized that it was never about me, because every manager after me, they treated them the same.
Mm. So let's talk about what did you learn in your personal
Mhm.
development through going through that specific situation? Because for somebody to like file a grievance against you, I mean, I know that had to sit heavy on your heart and maybe a couple other places too.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the work. I knew I wasn't a good boss, right? I knew I wasn't. I didn't like them either. We're just gonna be honest about it. Like I didn't like them either, and I didn't have the compassion
Sure.
to be considerate and understanding. I started to lead like I did at the last company because I felt like that's what got results.
Sure.
So if I felt like you were treating me wrong, then I treated you wrong. It was
Mm,
like an eye for eye and tooth for a tooth. But that's not
mm,
leadership.
right.
That's not leadership at all. It's leadership, but it's a different type of leadership. Not the type of leader that I wanted to be.
Right.
I can say that I learned a lot about and I had some staff members that would come in there and say, I didn't like how you did that meeting today. And I'd be like, what do you mean? They say, you just did the drop the mic. You came in and told us what to do and dropped the mic and walked out. And I was like, oh man, I did have some staff that cared enough about me to say that was not okay. I
Mm,
felt some type of way. And I did have staff that was comfortable enough to come and tell me.
mm,
And I appreciated that because I had time
absolutely.
to reflect on those things.
Yeah.
And then I would start to ask my staff, well, how do you think I should approach this? Or what are your thoughts? Because I was young. I was like 27. I was a young
That's where
leader.
I was when I became a manager. I
Yeah.
just remember and I was managing people that had been in the
Hmm.
organization for 25, 30 years. They had been with the organization as long as I'd been alive,
Yes.
right? I mean, obviously through a couple of mergers and acquisitions, but that was a big challenge. And so how did that make you can you remember maybe a specific time where you felt like I am
Mhm.
looking in the mirror and I've decided that something in me needs to shift?
Oh goodness. I would say that in that moment, no,
Sure.
because I had got fed up. I got to the point to where I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna put in my resignation. I had already told my my husband at the time that I'm quitting, I'm leaving, I'm out of here. I'm one of those. I'm like a little bit of an avoidant is what I just recently learned about my personality is that I dip.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
I'm out of here.
Peace. Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on me until after I had moved out of that department because I had a lot of self-doubt.
Sure.
I really thought that this was a place, this was it for me.
Right.
I was like, I come in here and I do what I'm supposed to do and I support my team. And, I was just tired. I was burnt out. I didn't care what happened. I was willing
Mm.
to walk out and figure it out, walk out on faith.
Mm.
Um, but when I went and talked to my manager, we had a conversation and she said, hold tight. She said, we got some other opportunities coming about, and I want you to consider. And I said, sure. And I did. There was another opportunity that presented itself. I went out for it and I got it. And the interesting thing was that when I transitioned, it was like
Mm.
a release.
Mhm.
And then I was actually in a position to where I could develop. I
Mm.
was around a different group of women
Sure.
that poured into me. I always tell people that my last job that I had before transitioning into entrepreneurship was like a sisterhood.
Mm.
I felt like my manager was the mom, and I felt like my coworkers were my sisters. And I tell people that they raised me in leadership,
Mm.
and I received all the compassion and the care and the love that I needed to grow. Some of them were firm, but
Mhm.
I needed that firmness because I was still young. A lot
Right.
of them were in their position for years. And they taught me some things, good, bad, indifferent. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And in that role was when I actually developed and learned some things. Now, that last job where it was tough, I would tell everyone that that's where I learned organization, structure, you know, um, durability,
Mm.
um, the ability to be flexible,
Sure.
and not to take things personal,
Right.
because it was never personal. So I learned something from both of those companies because those were the two companies that I spent the most of my professional career at when I was working full time.
Mm.
And they taught me a lot, pretty much got me to where I am. And I still keep in touch with my managers from my old jobs.
Yeah.
And I will often say, I appreciate you. Thank you. I needed this.
Mhm.
And they'll reach out to me and say, oh, I see you. Good
Aw.
job. I'm proud of you. So but just let me know that I'm doing something right. And now that I am in a place to where I'm running my own business, it's different. It's
Sure.
it's different because I don't have anyone that I can, technically report to. I have a board of directors.
Right.
But it's different when you're working for a company that belongs to someone else. It's different.
Well, for sure. And I think at that point you have to know your values as you talked about personality earlier.
Hmm.
You have to know your personality, your values, and you have to know
Right.
the organization's
Absolutely.
personality and the organizational values. And they have to know them as well, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that is a slippery slope that we're facing right now in today's market for business in general and even nonprofit organizations. I mean, everybody is having to adapt to this AI revolution,
Mhm.
right? Everybody is having to adapt. What are things going to look like? And there's so much external pressure, again, of remaining the fastest, remaining the cheapest, if cheap is a thing, remaining the most trustworthy, because
Mhm.
that's a huge thing, right? We're finding that people are, in this strive for technology and AI, we're seeing this huge also increase in a trust recession.
Mhm.
So it's like
Mhm.
this big, and the human connection in the middle is what's most important. And I think one of the things that you talked about, which is probably one of the hardest things for people to wrap their heads around right now, is mentorship.
Mm.
You think about, how do we bring people back into alignment? Well, the first time I decided or realized that my car was out of alignment, I realized I wasn't capable of getting under the vehicle
Mhm.
on my own
Mhm.
and tuning it to get it into alignment. I had to get help.
Right.
Right. And so, from a mentorship place, I think a bit, that was your alignment experience when
Mhm.
they really helped and said, all right, Shmeka, this is where we're at. This is
Mhm.
something that I want you to just adapt a tiny bit. Like, it's not,
Right.
all of the things that you had built up was the foundation that was going to be part of launching this nonprofit that you are
Absolutely.
so phenomenal at. But it was just some tweaks,
Mhm,
right? So talk
mhm.
to us about that a little bit.
So, I mean, I think after I made the decision to step out on my own in 2018, and I would say it wasn't on purpose. You know, I had a coworker who would, and I think that's one thing too, with having the mentors, but also having people that are speaking your name in rooms that you're not in,
Good or
right?
bad?
Good. I
Both affect
mean,
you.
yeah, a little bit of both.
Okay, don't do that.
Right,
Be nice.
yeah. But I would say these in this case good things.
Good. Okay.
And I would say, if it's bad, then you will hope that the person have the discernment to find out on their own. I'm
Absolutely.
one of those type of people where if someone tells me something bad about someone else, I don't always immediately take it to heart first. I still want to get to know that person because that's your experience.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that that person is not aligned with me. They just wasn't aligned with you.
Right.
So I still like to give people a chance because they haven't done anything to me.
Right.
And you don't know what blessing this person is going to be for me. So yeah, if you speak my name bad in a room, I just hope that that person says, "Let me find out for myself."
Right.
But in this case, I had people saying really good things about me that, hey, she's a good trainer, she's a good person to work with. They was saying good things. And what ended up happening was that an organization reached out to me and asked me to come do a training. Um, and when I accepted to do the training, I didn't know that I needed to have certain documentations to get paid. And then I learned about, okay, well, I may need to set up a sole proprietorship. I need to have W-9 or I-9 paperwork completed. There was requirements.
Sure.
And that's when I learned that, oh, okay, well, I always wanted to do this type of work on my own. So let me see what this is like. So I eventually left that organization. I started working for another organization, and I was only there for about 5 months. God pretty much told me that that was it. I need you to come here. It was an assignment.
Mm,
It's something that I need you to do here
mhm,
first before I push you out there. And I
mm,
did. I went and did what I needed to do at that company, and then I launched changing the mindset
mm.
after that.
I want to go into that for a minute because that is something that I think we struggle with a lot as
Yeah.
individuals is being willing to understand that certain things are an assignment
Right.
and that they're there for a season, right?
Hmm.
How did you come to the place to where you were able to separate your identity from the assignment?
With that particular situation, I didn't know it was an assignment until probably 6 weeks into the new role.
Mm,
There was something that I needed to learn.
yeah.
Every situation that I started to go in after the last job, I would pray about it and say, hey, show me what it is I need to learn in this situation because it started to get tough really,
Mm,
really soon.
mm,
And I didn't know what that meant. I needed clarity on what
mhm.
that meant, right? I have this discomfort that I feel here that I felt at the last two jobs, but it's too soon.
Mm,
I've only been here for a little bit over a month. Why am I having this feeling that it's time to go?
mm,
And so I was like, okay, I need to go pray about this. And I did. I went and I prayed about it. And I said, tell me or show me what it is that I need to see, what it is that I need to learn
mhm.
in this moment. And I sat on that and I waited, and more things started to happen. But also, I started to connect with other people, other organizations that was like, "Hey, we need you to do this. Hey, we need you to do this." And I'm like, "Well, I can't do that because I'm doing this." And more opportunities just kept coming.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Well, I don't think I'm ready for this." Then this organization sent me to a training. I received a certification, a very popular certification that only one of three people in Tennessee had,
Mm.
but only one of us was doing it as an independent contractor.
Wow.
And that is what took me off
Wow.
because the other two ladies that had that same certification, they worked for a company. So they
Sure.
couldn't do the trainings as I could. And next thing you know, I have this small business called SG Consulting and Data where I'm doing workforce development and I'm also doing these credentialized trainings for Head Start programs.
Wow.
And it went up from there.
That's incredible.
Went up from there.
You know what? I think sometimes the reason I wanted you to elaborate on that a little
Mhm.
bit is because sometimes I feel like in the work that we do with Unbreakable, we spend a lot of time when somebody works with us at the beginning of just helping them discover their true identity,
Mhm.
not the labeled identity, the relational identities,
Right.
the job identities, the career identities, and really just get back to who they are. And I think, something that you just shared is that you felt peace in these different places. And because
Mhm.
that identity is in you, right?
Right.
This individual leader that you have become, you're taking pieces and in the process establishing peace. You're feeling that peace
Nice.
because you're so clear on who you are.
Right.
And I think when we go back to a lot of workplace development, and we talk about that, and we talk about some of the toxic situations that we see in
Mhm.
workplaces, most of that to me, Shmeka, what I have found is they don't know who they are. They got
Yeah.
promoted too fast. They weren't given the tools, and or they were placed under a leader who has not spoken life to their identity, but spoken maybe negativity towards things. So, talk to me a little bit about that. About
Right. I can say that one thing that I've learned about discovering and finding my identity is that being in the field of psychology kind of prepared me for that. Right.
Mm,
When you're taking classes about mindset and behaviors, and when you are in an environment where it forces you to learn your personality and take ownership of your behaviors,
right,
then it makes it a lot easier to navigate situations where you're trying to figure out what should I do or what shouldn't I do.
sure.
Then I also feel like I've been given a gift, a spiritual gift, to
Mm,
where now I have this psychology component, then I have this spiritual gift where I feel like it was just in me.
right.
And then I always wanted more,
Mm,
right? I think that some people, this is about as good as they're going to get for them.
mm,
And they believe that.
mhm,
They have the mindset that this is going to always be it,
sure.
or someone is going to, I have to wait until someone give me something. It's
Right.
never one of those things where it's I want that and that's what I'm going to go and get.
Mm.
And I've always tell people, like even in my book or when I have these type of conversations, I always tell people that my journey to entrepreneurship did not start in 2018.
Oh, it started in
Right.
high school, probably,
And
right? As you start developing the human that you are.
yeah, it started my freshman year of college,
Wow.
2023. No,
Wow.
not 2023, 2003. Oh my goodness, goodness.
2000.
2003. When I went to college, I said I want to be a consultant. I don't know what type of consultant, but I know I want to be a consultant. I want to work with people, mindsets and behaviors. I don't know what, but I do.
Mhm, mhm.
And I stood firm in it.
Yeah.
And I have been one of those type of people where if you do good things and you do right by people, the Lord will bless you.
Mhm.
And if you ask for what you need, he will give you what you need.
Well, I think that's evident in your conversation with the Lord when you said, "God, show me what I need to see."
Mhm.
I remember a time when I was really at this crossroads in the bank, and I really felt like, okay, branch management is no longer my thing. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a position where I was forced to micromanage. And now hindsight, I had a lot of development I needed to still do. Right. I
Right.
feel like if I went back into a leadership role like that at this point, I would be a very different leader than
I
I
think so too.
was at
Yeah.
that place, right? So, but I really felt like that my hands were cuffed in that role. And so I remember a season where I was praying and I said, God, I was actually on my way to an interview for the bank to take on more of like a
Mhm.
district role. And I asked the Lord, I said, God, if this is what you have for me, open the door. It's already open. Like if this
Right.
is it, it's already there. It's already open. He's already done it. But if it's not, close it.
Yeah.
Right. If it's not, close
That's
it.
a very strong. You got to be ready,
Oh, I
cuz
wasn't
that was
ready.
that was my prayer. That was my prayer. And before I left that job in 2018, I applied for a position.
Mm,
And there was some things that were happening that made me feel uncomfortable. And I
mm,
said, well, I said, God, listen. I tell everyone, I um, I said, God, if this is not for me, show me, please.
mm.
Because I'm willing to invest. I was going to invest the rest of my life with that company.
Sure,
I
sure.
said, if this isn't for me, please. Told me in a dream, sent it to me in a dream,
Wow,
sent it to me in a dream. And the next day, I'm gonna tell you, that's how fast it worked.
wow.
The very next day, something happened at that job that was confirmation.
Mhm.
But then right after that, I got a phone call. When I say 72 hours,
Mm,
and my God worked that fast for me. I don't know about everybody else, God. But when I make that prayer,
right,
and when you make that prayer and you're ready for what's about to happen, it happens that fast.
right, right.
Because I was fully committed to that company. But God was like, no, this is not. I
Mm,
didn't know that I was going to be in Austin, Texas.
yeah,
I didn't know that. Had no idea. I didn't know that that was the path.
right.
So when I give me chills, but yeah, it came to me in a dream.
That's
In
incredible.
that dream, it told me exactly what was going to happen. It didn't happen that way, but it happened that way.
Sure, sure. Well, I'm just going to tell you, I remember in my situation, I felt like the most bizarre thing was happening in this interview that I had with my boss and his
Mhm.
boss. And it was like, I've been in rooms with these people before
Yeah,
and they didn't act that way. I really felt like something in alignment was coming together to just
yeah.
answer my question and to my prayer. And what does that have to do with leadership alignment? Well, you talked earlier about servant leadership and different leadership
Mhm.
styles. And I think truly, I believe this in all that is in me is that when we are called to lead, it's because God cares about people and He's elevating us to lead people.
Right.
Right? He is elevating us to show them that they are seen, that they
Mhm.
are heard, that they are loved, and that the work that they put their hands to matters.
Right.
And as a leader, it's important that we stay in alignment with who we are
Right.
and where we're leading people. And so to kind of pull this full circle, I would love to hear, how is it that you have maintained that? Because I know, here's the deal. You've been incredibly successful.
Mhm.
And it's easy in success to say, "Hmm, I'm actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's just me." Right? It's easy in
Yeah.
success when you have enough evidence of success on your plate. It's easy to say, I have arrived.
Right.
But you don't look at life that way. You constantly are
Mhm.
looking at ways that you can improve, that you can adapt, and you can take people to new heights. I've seen it in your work. Tell me what keeps you committed to that.
I don't think leadership or being a good leader just is just in the workplace. I
Mhm.
think being a good leader is being a good person in the community. I believe that being a good leader in your household as a parent, being a good leader in a relationship. I think that leadership isn't just in the workplace.
Mhm.
And when I work with organizations and we interview leadership staff, my question isn't about tell me about your past leadership experience in the work environment, but tell me how you lead in other areas. Like I
Mm.
see on your resume that you are part of this and this and this. Tell me about how you show up as a leader in those roles. Oh, do you have children? Congratulations. How
Yeah.
do you show up as a parent?
Yeah.
Let me see what leadership look like outside of the working environment because it doesn't just speak to your skill set, but also speak to your character.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was just having a conversation with my daughter today, and she told me that she finished her first round of therapy, and she was telling me about the final conversations that her and her therapist had, and she talked about her dad, and she talked about her ex-boyfriend, and I said, "What you say about me? what, you,
Oh.
what did you say about me?" And she told me some things that she said, and I said, "Well, you know what? Is there anything that I could have done differently? Is
Mm.
there anything that you felt like up until this, because you're 20, you're about to be 21,
Mhm.
is there anything that has happened in your life that you feel I need to take ownership in or I need to pray, apologize for?" And she told me, she was like, "Yeah, when you did this one thing, you did this." But she said, "I don't want you to feel like you had anything to do with these issues,
Sure.
but I just feel like that these were some things that bothered me." And I
Mm,
said, "Fair enough." And I apologized for that.
mm,
And I told her, I said, and that's why I try so hard to make sure that I'm doing my check-ins with my daughters and saying, "Hey, did I say something wrong?" Or I apologize
yeah.
because I do know what parenting behaviors can do to a child long term.
Right.
But I also know how that can affect a person in the workplace. I
Mm,
also know how that can affect a leader, right? There's different types of leaderships.
right.
And most people only think about one type.
Sure.
But there's so many different type of characteristics and traits that make different types of leaders. And most of that come from childhood development.
Mhm.
So I made sure that I went and did the intentional work to heal whatever childhood wounds I had so
Right.
that way I can show up as my best self as an adult. And I make sure that with my daughters that we work on whatever current childhood trauma or experiences
Right.
that they're having in their critical periods of development so they can be the best adult that they can be. So I think when I think about leadership, I don't think about just the working environment. I think about leadership multidimensionally when we're looking at leadership in different areas
Mhm.
because you can be a horrible leader in the workplace, but you
Mhm.
can be a phenomenal leader in your home, right? Um, but it's always about character sometimes too. It's not just about your
Yeah.
skill set, but how's your heart? Yeah.
Right.
How you treat people.
Yeah, and if your heart is shattered
Yeah.
because of things that you've been through that you haven't done the internal work on, and or because life is just hard.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think about things that we all face things, right? And as far as I could tell in the last couple of years for me, life hasn't gotten easier.
Mm-mm.
It gets progress now social media may make it look like we're busy
Yeah.
and we're doing things,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean life isn't hard,
Right.
right?
Right.
That doesn't mean that things don't break our hearts and crush us, right?
Right.
It
Right.
just means that as leaders, we've learned to lead self
Mm-hmm.
so that when those crushing, breaking moments hit, because they're inevitable, they're going to come,
Mm-hmm.
that we can be solid or at least we can bounce back and be resilient. You talked about durability earlier, and I would say
Mm-hmm.
another word is resilience, right? And
Right.
and I think sometimes, words like resilience, I hear people say, I'm a resilience coach. And I'm like, well, that's wonderful. What are like
What
tell
does that
yeah,
mean?
like yeah, are you Gumby? Like tell me about this, right? But I think, it's so important, as you said, to have done and to make time to do this internal work,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not fun.
No. I mean, I always tell people I don't like being busy. Like, I don't brag about that. Like, no, there's just some days where I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to be bothered,
Sure.
but I just think that we enjoy what we do. I always tell people that I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And to you, it may look like it's a lot, but to me, it's happiness. It is
Mhm.
a lot, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that I would prefer to be busy doing something that I enjoy
Sure.
than being busy doing something that I hate and I don't
Absolutely.
like.
And I think busy could be busy scrolling on social media, busy watching TV. I remember in
Yeah.
my Mary Kay days, there was a gentleman, his name was Sean Key, and he said, I would rather be exhausted from excellence than rested in mediocrity.
Ooh,
And I
ooh,
was like, oh, I like that.
love it.
Right. But I do often, we had this little conversation earlier. I do often get the text message that says, I know you're really busy, but and I think about that. And every time I see that, I'm like, oh, because my intention, Dr. Shmeka, is to never let somebody feel like I'm too busy for them.
Right,
Right.
right.
Now, there are times that boundaries are important
Absolutely.
and that we have to be able to say, I will take care of that in the allotted time that I
Mhm.
have available. Um, but I think that, in this year of alignment that we're all, walking into, and definitely it is our focus with Unbreakable. But
Mhm.
in this year of alignment, it's not about being busy. It's not about doing more. It's about being so intentional with
Mhm.
the things that we are called to. And if leadership is the call, let's get intentional with what it takes to be the best leader that we can be.
Right.
Right?
Right. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And even to the busy point, because I get that a lot. And I have to tell
I'm going to
people
text you later and say,
this,
I know you're busy,
and then I'm gonna
but
text you back. We're gonna be texting each other. I know you're busy. No, I know you're busy. I know you're busy. No, I know you're busy.
we're like, what do you want? Let's have coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of my biggest, don't tell me I'm busy. I know that I have a lot going on. You know I have a lot going on. What do you want? Just ask for it. I have to
Right.
tell my daughter that too. She'll give me this whole rundown. And I'll be like, Jayla, what do you want? She'll be like, oh, well, this is what I need. I was like, okay, just tell me that. Like,
Right.
you don't have to bait me.
I'm too busy for
You don't have to bait me for that. Yeah. But I mean, I never tell people that I'm busy because I don't want people to think I'm busy. Yeah, I have a lot going on. I think it's
Mhm.
self-evident that I have a lot going on, but there's not one person that can say that I'm not accessible,
Sure.
right? Or I'm not approachable, or if you need me and I'm not there, right?
Mm.
I know even with my team, they will ask me for stuff and I'd be like, hold up, wait a minute, I'm gonna give it to you right now. And they're like, oh, well, you can give it to me later. I'm like, no, I'm gonna forget.
Right.
So let me go ahead. When you ask me for something, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you now. Even with my students, they'll come and they'll be like, hey, Professor Gibson, I need this, and this. And I'd be like, hold up, wait a minute, let me check right now. And they'd be like, oh, I just sent you an email. No, stay. Because I am going to get distracted or something else is going to come up. But that's my personality. It's just how I am.
Mhm.
But what I am learning is that I cannot continue to pour from a
Mhm.
cup and not be replenished.
Mhm.
So I am now learning who and what can refill
Right.
so that way I can continue to give because I have given a lot and I
Mm.
can feel when I'm starting to be depleted. So I am learning to find my true tribe,
Mm.
and also things that refill my cup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I think it's important to acknowledge that every single one of us are going to be refilled by something probably different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay. I remember when the mantra self care, when it just, and I'm like, that doesn't actually sound like fun to me. In fact, that sounds like torture.
Yeah.
Right. And, and so I think, one other word I would love for us to go into here for a moment is expectations, because I feel like we're in this season, whether it's an employee expectation,
Mhm.
a child expectation, a
Mhm.
spousal expectation, whatever, right? We're in this place that because everybody is depleted, because everybody is distracted and doing all of these things, and because we're so used to the dopamine hit and
Yeah.
instant gratification on things,
Yeah.
we have this new expectation that people need to be ready right away
Mhm.
or they're too busy for me.
Yeah. You're busy. I know you're busy, but that's that I need it, right? I know you got a lot going on, but I need for you to stop what you're doing to help me with what I need. Like that speaks to what you're saying, right? Because it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I know you busy. Hey, that's not important though. But what I need is
Right.
important right
Right.
now. And yeah, expectations leads to boundaries. What are your expectations of me? Um, let's have a conversation about that, and then let's set some parameters,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, we see that a lot, especially in the working environment, right?
Mhm.
Everyone has these expectations, but no one talks about them.
Sure.
One thing that I do with any new group that I work with, whether it's a new client or a new staff or I'm teaching a new class, we always set expectations. That's the first thing,
Mhm.
right? What are your expectations of me? And then let me tell you what my expectations of you are, because that's when you draw the line in the sand to say, hey, this is this contract now. Now we have a contract that
Right.
we now need to hold each other accountable to. And some people have these expectations in their mind that they don't share with anybody.
Right.
And then when someone violates those expectations, now they're upset.
Right.
Now you upset with someone and I don't even know what you're mad at me for.
Right.
Now you're mad at me
Right.
because you have a expectations of me that I didn't know existed.
Right.
And so I always encourage people. I've even had clients that looked at me crazy and was like, "What I'm doing this for?" I'm like, "You're going to appreciate this in a couple of
I
months. I
promise.
promise you. I
Yeah.
promise you." And they all do.
Yeah.
I'm like that with my friends. All
Right.
right, we're new friends now. Okay, so what are your expectations of me? What let's talk through it. I've even gotten to the point now to where if I feel like I need the vent, I will ask people. I don't know if the last time we talked, I asked you if it was okay if I share with you, but sometimes
Probably.
I have to say now I've gotten to the point to where I would say, is it okay that
Sure.
I share?
Sure.
Like I'm dealing with something, but I want to be considerate of whatever space you're in.
Sure.
Because just because you're my friend doesn't mean that you have the capacity to hold what I'm about to lay on you.
And that is probably one of the least selfish things that we could do, right? Is to
Mm-hmm.
just be so loving to somebody and say, "Listen, I appreciate you and I want to have this relationship, but do you have the capacity in this moment?"
Right.
Because I think so many times if you're at the place, even with the emotional regulation that you have done, the work you have done as a
Mhm.
leader, if sometimes you're finding yourself in a place where you're like, I need to regulate like right now,
Right.
right? I need
Right.
to get back to this. And emotional regulation and these things. Imagine the people that don't know these things.
Right. That's why I think it's important to ask first. But not only just ask, is it okay, but also to ask, can I be safe here?
Yes.
Meaning that after this conversation, you're not going to go and tell
Right.
somebody what
Right.
I've told you, or you are not going to hold it against me
Right. Right.
months later if
Right.
something changes.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to support me and love me and hold me accountable if I need to be held accountable? If I ask for that, right? If I ask
Right.
for that. But I think, we don't have those safe outlets, which also leads to that internal stress and that
Mhm.
toxic energy that a person is holding
Yeah.
because I don't feel comfortable having conversations with anybody because I don't feel safe.
Sure.
So now I'm going to go into this next environment. I'm going to show up as this angry person,
Right.
and because I don't have a release.
Right.
I don't have a release. I wish that more people would get into therapy
Mhm.
to talk through, even if it's just a couple of sessions.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think being able to get all of that out of your system,
It's so important.
very important.
Yes.
Very, very important.
I remember this time that I had been told many times in my life, "Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what did I do? I stopped
Stop
crying.
crying. Right.
Right. And no shame. Like I'm not throwing any shade, right? But the truth is the words that we say in the very fertile hearts and minds of young people becomes the experiences and the lens that they see life through and the way that they operate. It becomes part of their internal operating system, right?
Yeah.
And so at like around 30 something years old, I remember friends and people are like, "Teresa, why don't you ever cry? Like, why
Mhm.
do you not like? Does this not bother you? Like you should be crying." Like, well, I don't have to should do anything,
Right.
but I remember there was this one time where I was at church and I looked over and I glanced and I saw somebody just really expressing and pouring her heart out to the Lord, and the Lord spoke to me in that moment and
Mhm.
said, "Tears are the great exchange."
Right.
Right? I can't put in you what you need if you are so full of what's happening and what you've been
That's true.
carrying, right? And I think about this whole "I need my cup filled" situation that we all tend to say, and it becomes part of what we believe and we know is true.
Right.
But are we actually making room for the cup to get full, or is it just pouring out because we have not expressed emotion in a healthy way?
Yeah. Yeah, and then again, it goes back to my point when I said finding those right people and right
Right.
things,
Right.
right? Because everybody can't pour into your cup, right? You get a
I
little,
don't want some of
right? You get a little
that.
bit of this and get a little bit of that, and
Now we're
then
doing that suicide drink, right? Oh my gosh.
just mixing
7-Eleven.
stuff. Have all types of stuff in your cup.
Ooh.
So it's also about finding the right things and the right people to replenish
Right.
from.
Right.
and not just letting anyone that says, I'm a really big stickler for people that say, I want to pray for you. And I'd be like, no, just keep me in your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because you don't know what they're going to
I don't know
pray.
what you're praying
And we
for.
know God listens, but we also know that he knows what you need before you
That's
ask.
very, very true. And
Yeah.
so, I kind of, have been very aware and cognitive about who I allow into my space.
Some people there, let me pray for you. What can I pray about? And you're like, I ain't telling you nothing.
Yeah. I just like, keep me in your thoughts. Send positive vibes my way. Send some positive
I'm going to go back to my
energy.
has Shmeka ever said this to me? No.
I tell everybody that I always tell people that's just, I mean, it's just what I've always done, right? And I'll tell you where that come from. I know it's sidebar, completely off of what we're talking about, but I love me a good like Spartan show, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
300s.
Oh, yeah.
I have had an opportunity to like binge watch a lot of those shows on HBO. And I noticed that the women are very involved in a lot of the things that happens in these, medieval wars and stuff like that. But what scared me was that all of the women were praying for things. They were either praying for or against. And I never seen that before. I know that people can pray against, but to actually watch a show where
That
you
shows
see
it.
women praying against
Sure.
the well-being, they're praying for
Sure.
the downfall, and I'm
Right.
like, this is a thing.
It is. Well, and I think that's why the word says, speaking to Abraham, I will bless those that bless you, and I will
Mhm.
curse those that curse you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That when I say the scariest thing I've ever seen, and I'm one of those type of people where I cannot watch TV shows and enjoy them like normal people can. My psychology brain, I am analyzing everything, and
And then it's
so
playing while you're trying to sleep.
yeah,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay. And so I was watching this one show, and I already knew what was going to happen. So my daughter was like, "Do you know who did?" I was like, "Oh, it was the mother." What do you mean it was the mother?
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, I mean, you could
You can
tell,
read
right?
it.
The behaviors are there. And she was like, "I'm not calling and asking you anything else."
That's funny. That's so funny.
But I was like, "Yeah, you can kind of." I said, "I no longer watch them for fun anymore. I'm sitting there like it's a murder mystery." But yeah, like now when I watch shows, it's almost like, it's like a prophetic person is speaking to me in this
Wow.
moment. But
Yeah.
when I watch those movies, and this was years ago, years ago,
Sure.
and I'm like,
Just opened your eyes. Yeah.
this is wild to
Yeah.
see the women, all of the women just scattered. When the men go to war and the men go out to do their thing, you see 10, 15 different women in different places praying for different things and praying for and praying against.
Wow.
And even the women that were maybe married, they was praying against their husband that he dies and he doesn't come back. It was wild. And from that moment, I said, you know what? I believe it. Just keep me in your thoughts.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think that goes, honestly, when we think about, okay, what was the psyche that was happening in that medieval time?
Yeah.
Like, did these women have any control over anything?
No,
They really
absolutely not.
didn't.
They didn't.
And you take that back to the
And
workplace.
they was religious women, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can know what
Right.
God, who God is and what God is, but when these basic human needs, like our need for certainty, our need for
Right.
variety, our need for contribution, all of these things that that are just our basic human needs, when they're not met, we can sometimes act a fool.
Yeah. And then and pray for other things, right? Even when you say, okay, God, show me if this opportunity is for me. But then you can also say, okay, well, I want it and I don't want nobody else to get it. So
Sure.
you're blocking a blessing for someone else, where it's like, okay, it's about me. I feel like I'm the best person. I deserve this. Don't give it to them. Give it to me. Aren't I your favorite?
Well, I might actually say that every once in a while.
But that goes back to the whole cursing thing, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
there's so many layers when we're talking about leadership and workplace, and how even a medieval movie can translate to things that we see happening in real time in real life.
Sure.
And it makes you wonder,
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, I just think about these ladies that you're talking about with that movie 300 or whatever. And I think about these women that were in this organization when you're coming in and they're, talking, filing grievances and all of that. And you're like,
right,
what's happening here? Well, obviously, they're in a situation where control and certainty is not there. And organizational leadership is required to bring it all back into just a place where people can feel safe, right? That's what this really is about, right? As leaders, our job is to protect the people that we lead to some degree, to give them that sense of security and safety so they can be the best version of themselves.
And be with good intention.
Right.
Because even, like I said, even being in a position to where I didn't like them either, I wasn't doing them any good.
Sure.
Right? Because my young, inexperienced mind was saying, get them back.
Right. Right.
Now, as a leader, when I've worked in environments where I may felt like someone didn't like me, I no longer have the get them back mentality. Now it's, let me understand, how did we get here? That's my philosophy question now, is how.
Sure.
Not why, but how. How did we get here?
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation. Let's talk about, let's try to understand where we went wrong. Let's try to bridge the gap.
I want to unpack that question. It's the how and not the why. And I would love to hear you elaborate on why you chose. And I feel like one of the things is a how makes it not personal. It's a series of events.
Right.
The why is subject to emotion, but tell us about this.
So when I think about the why versus the how, and this is something new that I've determined, because it's not always about what is currently happening right now. Right? I don't need to know why you are acting this way. Sure. I need to know, how did it get this far?
Right.
An example that I can use is that you have an employee that is coming to work late. I don't want to know why they're coming to work late, especially if it's gotten to the point to where you need to address the issue.
Sure, because every day it's a new reason. But
absolutely, yes. Right. Yeah. So the first time is why. But when we're at the point to where you are overwhelmed and stressed with it, and you're ready to write this person up or discipline this individual, now my question is how? Because I need to know, how did it get here?
Right.
Where did we fall off? And also let's see the plan of action that occurred to where we have really tried to support this individual. Did we do our job? Right? So did we have those questions of, why are you late? And how can I support you?
Right.
Most companies will say, no, we didn't do that. They're ready to write them off. And once you have a conversation with that person, you find out that they're dealing with some major stuff.
Sure.
Someone passed away. Right. They're in a domestic violence situation. They're about to lose their house. Their kids are giving them problems.
Maybe they're not a morning person and you're torturing them when they come in.
That's a true thing too.
Yes.
That's an anomaly. It's that's one off every now and then.
Sure.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
And they're not even productive when they're there on time because their brain isn't turned on yet. Like their productivity doesn't start until like 10 a.m.
Right. Or you asking them to be there be there at 8:30, but their kids can't get to school until 9. Right. So it's, many times I always tell people that we have lost the humanistic approach.
Sure.
Right. We've lost the ability to be kind and caring and compassionate and considerate to people. Right. It's about, like you said, the outcomes. How fast can you get it done? And then you have other people in leadership that are so unhappy in their personal life that I'm going to make everybody else. If I have to be here at 8:30, you have to be here at 8:30.
But I get to leave at 4 and you can stay till 6.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you better not leave.
Right.
So my question is, how?
Yeah.
Let's work backwards.
Yes. I think that is so profound and simple, but I think about this too. I think of, again, if we are going to talk to a leadership team, an organization, really, we're talking to the company and then the leaders and then the humans, the people that they're leading, right? But from a leadership team perspective, maybe they promoted somebody into leadership and they didn't give them the skills of understanding that said, hey, listen, it's not just ask this question. It's not just complete this form. It's not just, check this box, because we can do that in a widget-based world, right? When we think of the Industrial Revolution, when everything is assembly line and you just check, 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 check. I mean,
We're
we did that.
robots.
We did that for so
Right.
long, right? But then now we've morphed to where we don't have to produce everything anymore. We have systems, we have tools, we have things like that. Now we're producing amazing leaders, right? Now we're
Right.
producing humans that can have these beautiful conversations. And that's probably the most important thing, in my opinion, to produce. But we've never been taught the why behind
Mm-hmm.
those documents, those things. And so we get people that are like, well, of course I did the form.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, did
Mm-hmm.
you actually have a conversation? So, how would you help an organization change the mindset?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that the people that need to know, right? The people that put these systems together, they create these processes and policies, they know, right?
Sure,
They're the ones that need to know.
sure,
Everybody else is that we just tell you what you're supposed to do and you just do it.
sure,
You don't need to know the why,
sure.
right? Um, One thing that I really enjoyed about the last company that I worked for was that my boss was all about the why, and that is something that I carry on with me
Mhm,
is why.
mhm,
Why am I doing what I'm doing?
mhm,
What is my purpose? Pretty
mm,
much. What is my purpose? And if your why is always at the beginning, at the forefront,
mhm,
then you navigate with the why in mind,
mhm.
right? So with organizations, I come with them with the angle of yes, how did we get here? But then why? What is
Right,
the purpose? Where are we going?
right,
Where are we going?
right,
Like,
right,
where are
right.
we going?
Yes,
Say where are we
yes.
going? Um, so it's about helping organizations understand that if you want to get everyone aligned,
Mhm,
it's not just creating the policies and procedures here and
mhm,
then pushing them down
mhm.
and then holding people accountable to a standard that they don't know exists
Or why it exists.
or why it exists.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because I think, a business owner that could be watching this today, maybe they're in a place where they're like, I'm really growing my business and I want to scale up because, scaling is the thing now, right?
Right.
So I want to scale up, which means I need to bring on employees, which means I need to create standard, or maybe I need to know what a standard operating procedure is. But right, they're doing these things, but they're operating from a place of, I already know, as you said, I already know why I exist as a corporation or as an entity or whatever. Like, I think of my husband's business. We exist to keep houses from burning down.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we exist, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
job is to make sure people have peace of mind with their chimneys and their dryer vents. That's why we exist.
Absolutely.
But all of our SOPs should point, in my opinion, should point back to that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is why we do what we do. Here's how we
Mm-hmm.
communicate it. Here's how we show up with excellence. Here's how we do these things.
Absolutely.
But it always starts with a why. Like, in my opinion, um, the communication that we have, like, okay, we're about to have an ice day in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we having this communication strategy? Well, we want people to maintain the safety in their home and be informed of changes,
Right.
right? That's why we're doing it. It's not just pushing a button on a machine, Mr. AI computer, spit this out. But why are we doing it? Because when it comes to what decisions do I need to make as a team member,
Mm-hmm.
I need to know why I'm attaching myself to this. Otherwise, I just think it's a widget and I don't put any heart in it. So, how would you get with an organization when it comes to creating systems or processes? How would you show them, okay, this is really why you need to start with why?
Right. What I've learned is that many entrepreneurs and business owners have never served in leadership. Most of your individuals that step out on faith and start their own business, they normally worked for a company and they felt like they could do a better job.
Yeah.
So they start their own company. Then you have some that see that there's a need, or they worked for an organization and noticed that they may have done business with another organization and realized that that organization wasn't able to do what they needed to do. So most people start jobs and they are just employees themselves. So they don't even have
Right.
the skill set and the knowledge base of what it takes to run a business, or better yet, be a leader.
Sure.
Whenever I come into contact with, I would say small business startups, because those are that's kind of easier to navigate. When you're talking about larger companies, it's a little bit more. But when we're talking about startup, grassroots organizations, our newbies, right, into business ownership, My first question always is, tell me about your past leadership experience in the work environment,
Mm.
because that lets me know how much exposure you have or how much knowledge you have. And like I said, most of them say none,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
and it goes into the things that I spoke
And it
of.
shows.
Yeah. Because when you have leadership experience, you have already been equipped with other skills too.
Right.
Financial, HR, operations. So you know what operations, you know what SOPs are, right? You
Right.
know what policies and procedures are. You know what employee handbooks are. You know about the interview. You know certain things because you've already been exposed to those things.
Right.
And that's why I say you have those that need to know versus those that don't know.
Right.
Right. So the people that don't know, then they go and start a business and they lack all of those things that they may have would have learned if they moved up in leadership. Before these individuals become anyone that says, hey, I want to start my own business, what do I need to do? My first response is to professionally develop yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't foresee leadership happening within your current company, ask someone in leadership, maybe interview them, ask them what are all the things that they do, so that way you can have an idea of what it takes to serve in leadership for your own company.
Right.
Or ask, can you attend some leadership trainings that maybe they will pay for? Or you go find your own training. Some people don't want to invest in themselves.
Right.
But not only that, become involved in other things, like join a Lions Club, join Zonta, join, Rotary. There are so many other things that you can do to expose yourself to leadership,
Right.
which I wish that more entrepreneurs and business leaders would do to enhance that skill set, because you're going to need that. So once I find out that you don't have that, then I try to expose you to that, because it's going to be very difficult for me to get you to make the shift,
Mhm.
because most people think that once I start my business, I did it. I know what I'm doing.
Sure.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, oh, you gonna find out.
Soon as
Waiting to tax
somebody
season.
knocks on that door. Yeah. Yeah.
Waiting to tax season. So my goal is to educate, professionally develop. Let me get you the resources and tools that you need. That's why our business mentorship program is so important, because a lot of those people don't have exposure to the things that they need to effectively run a business as a leader. So my biggest thing is that get you a mentor, get you a coach, get you someone that can help professionally develop you so you can be prepared to lead.
Right.
Because that is one of the biggest challenges with entrepreneurs, is that because you do not have that leadership skill set, you miss a lot of the important factors in your business. And then after that, once the professional development take place, then we continue to develop you and put you in positions to where your business can grow, your business can thrive. Now, for those that say, hey, I want to scale, we need to make sure you're growing first,
Right.
because before you scale, you need to be in alignment with growth.
Right.
And we have some people that say, oh, I'm ready to scale. And I'd be like, okay, well, let's take a look at your financials. Because why are we scaling if we're not bringing in a certain amount of financial revenue?
And don't you think that there's so much of that is the pressure? I mean, you think about Dr. Shmeka, we think about all of the noise that's out there.
Mhm.
Like you're and I hear this so many times. And listen, we do business coaching. I've used business coaches for a long time.
Right.
And one of the things that I heard from the very first business coach I worked with, which was intriguing to me, probably as to most people, was if you are if you are an entrepreneur and your business can't run without you, then you don't have a business, you have a job. That was one of the things that
Mm.
he said. And I was like, well, amen to that. I don't want this job. Like, I need to have my business, right? But I think there's a lot of external pressure about hurry up and get to the next level. Hurry up and scale. If you
Mhm.
want to be viable next year, you better have, 5 locations or whatever that is
Mhm.
for that market. And it causes people to dismiss or undervalue these leadership development skills, these
Right.
personal development skills, because if I take the time to do that, I'm missing over here,
Mhm.
right? So how would you combat that?
I mean, the question is why? Why are you rushing?
Right.
Where are you trying to go?
Mhm.
Um, Most people don't have a business plan, so they
Mm.
don't even know what direction the business is going anyway. Most people don't have a strategic plan, So they don't even have goals for the next 3, 5 to 10 years for their business.
Right.
They don't have a plan. So we will hear people say, it's time to scale. It's time to scale. You need more business, or you need this. But then my question is where's your plan?
Mm.
And then it's like a deer caught in headlights, because they're like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
I have a fragment of a business plan, but what is a
My
strategic
plan is to get
plan?
up and work
Right?
every day.
So what is a strategic plan? But again, it goes back to me, it's always finances,
Sure.
because your finances will tell me how valuable you are and if you are ready to scale,
Sure.
right? Some people don't even have the right business entity file. Some people are registering their businesses as S corporations and C corporations when they should be LLCs.
Mhm.
So most people don't even have the basic understanding of how to even set up the business. So it's about making sure that your foundation is strong
Mhm. Mhm.
and making sure you have a plan and changing the mindset. We're going into 8 years, 8 years.
Wow.
And I'm now starting to see the 6-figure mark.
Wow.
Even all the stuff that we did, most people think that starting a business is going to take off. And that's not always the case. It takes, I would say, man, about 5 years for you to even solidify the business structure and model that is
Right.
going to produce the revenue that's going to sustain. So let me ask you all, with Top Hat Chimney, how long did it take for you guys to actually start to see the financial benefit?
Well,
How many
I
years?
probably for Royal and I, it was we purchased in 2012, 2017, 2018, so probably right 5 or
About
6
5
years.
years, yeah.
And it also took a new level of leadership. I mean, to be quite frank, you hit the nail on the head. Royal was a technician and then he became owner,
Mhm.
right? And that was a huge transition and it you don't here's the thing too as a business owner, nobody gives you grace while you're learning.
Heck no, they don't.
Like,
What is that?
hello. The
You say you're a
minute
business owner, so you know what you're
yeah,
doing.
you put open on your door, therefore you are required to know about everything,
Right, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Including how to handle situations like a pandemic or
Mhm.
how to handle situations where you have an employee and they're not acting right and you don't know what to do about it, right? There are so many laws and rules that are out there.
Yeah.
And so this personal development piece to be a leader and not rush. Like I feel like best
Mhm.
things, I mean, you have a wine business too, and the
Mhm.
good wine doesn't happen the minute you squeeze those
Oh no,
grapes.
I would say, and even the wine business has been. It took 5 years to even. It's 5 years to even find the right information,
Yeah.
right? And then the wine business is expensive. It's
Yeah.
expensive. Every state have different laws and expectations. So having multiple businesses it hasn't been a walk in the park. But I cannot honestly say that, oh, I was able to do this overnight. In
Yeah.
24 hours, I was making 6 figures. I wish,
Yeah.
you know?
Wouldn't that be nice? But here again, we're dealing with all of this external pressure that makes you feel like we are in society today. They are creating an influx of imposter syndrome because there's this pressure that
Right.
you have to perform at a certain level to even be worthy of
Right.
somebody's "are you busy?" kind of
Right.
thing. And it's unsustainable.
That's true. That's true. And it's not healthy.
Right. Right.
It's not healthy. And that's why many business owners or entrepreneurs do not last past 3 years,
Mhm.
because it is too much pressure.
Mhm.
And they say, you know what? I can't do this.
I
I'm
don't
going to
want
go
to.
back. I'm going to go back and get me a job.
Yeah.
And, it's less stressful when I didn't have to deal with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It takes a lot of endurance, a
Sure.
lot of patience.
Sure.
There's been so many times where I wanted to quit, call my boss me and say I'm not coming in anymore.
Hello. Yes. I want to quit. Well, you're fired. Right. And then
Call
it's
myself
get
and
back
quit.
to work. We got to pay the bills.
Let me go on, get up and go to work. So there's some. It's not easy, and I've never heard anybody say that. Oh, this has been easy. No, it's
Yeah.
not. If
Yeah.
if anyone has said it's been easy, I'm like, okay, yeah, right. No, but I can say that it has been rewarding and it has
Yeah.
been fun.
Mm.
That's what I can say about it. And what I have been able to accomplish with changing the mindset is beyond what I thought I would ever been able to do. Um, and I think that again, if 8 years ago, if God would have said this is where you was going to be, I wouldn't
Mm,
have believed it.
mm,
I wouldn't have. I would have kept. I would have stayed where I was,
mhm.
and I probably still would have been there.
Sure.
Still would have been there.
Yeah, and you might be asking yourself same question I asked before I left the bank, is there not more to life than this?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Because I think as individuals, as humans, we have this sense of love and loyalty and we want to stay with
Mhm.
things and we want to support friends, we want to support family. Obviously, we need to support family. And at the same time, we are each have a very specific, unique, beautiful purpose in us.
Right.
Right. And I think about your amazing purpose of helping people change the mindset so that they have the capacity to run these organizations, these nonprofits, these businesses that are out there changing the world. Right. You are an integral piece of that. And how many of them would have been left out if you would have said, I'm good here?
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that all the time because, every time I work with an organization, I'll be like, man, there's not a lot of organizations that's doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Right. Or some organizations that don't want to touch it. Right. Because when you hear workplace mental health, and that leadership is
Wait, did
is
those two go together?
really workplace mental health, and then you have to go in there and say, is the leadership fault that your staff is unhappy? No, no one wants to deal with that. It takes a different type of person,
Mhm.
um, that really is dedicated to serving the working professionals
Mm,
and concerned about their mental health. So every time I go into an organization, I always think about what if.
mm,
What if I decided to stay back? What if I didn't step out?
yeah.
What if I didn't go and do this? Or what if I didn't go there? And I think that is the motivation
Mm.
to keep going. So yeah, the days that I want to call and quit, it's like, okay, you gotta keep
Get
going.
back to work.
Okay, yeah. It's
Get back
like
to work.
Google how many workplace mental health organizations out there. And it's like, okay, all right, let me get up and go to work.
Yeah. But it's so important because people spend so much of their waking hours in the workplace.
Yeah, they
The
do.
the work that you do is changing lives, right? Because how many people are in toxic working situations?
A
Like,
lot.
yeah.
A lot. And organizations are trying to do better with implementing healthy workplace practices, right? So they have like mental health days. Organizations, HR departments are trying to be a little bit more considerate when it comes to the well being of employees. Managers are trying to encourage employees to take their lunches and take time for themselves, or organizations are creating environments where they have walking lots and encouraging staff to take time away from their desks to go out and get some
Sure.
fresh air. So organizations are trying to be more creative and innovative when it comes to making sure their staff are healthy. But
Mm.
the question I have is that is one, is it intentional? Two, is it sustainable?
Or is it checking a
Right.
box?
Or is it checking a box? Is this
Mm.
benefiting you all more? Because some organizations get benefits with their insurance. If you
Sure.
have healthy staff, that lowers your health
Your
insurance
premiums.
premiums.
Mm.
So once the staff leaves here, do you care? You
Right.
know?
What's your real motivation?
Right.
Yeah.
So I can say that organizations are trying, right? They are trying. But then are we addressing the root cause? Are we making sure that the leaders are equipped
Mhm.
to support staff when they are dealing with their mental health? And not only that, are we supporting our leaders?
Right.
Because leaders are employees too.
And they have a lot on their
They
shoulders.
do. They do.
Mhm.
They need support. And I have had many conversations with CEOs and presidents that say, I am so glad that you are here.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that I have someone that I can talk to.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's profound for me
Sure.
because it doesn't happen.
Well, the phrase has been around as long as I've been in leadership, and that's that it's lonely at the top,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
And because and particularly if we go back to the scenario that we discussed earlier, where somebody is promoted from being a team member to now a team leader, right?
Right.
Now there's this whole weird separation that happens because now you're
Mhm.
my boss and we
Right.
used to be friends. We used to go have lunch together, or we used to do these
Mhm.
things, but now you're my boss. And so that loneliness creeps in, I think, a lot faster in those types of
Right.
situations.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would even say that organizations don't don't provide the space for those relationships to continue.
Sure.
Because just because I'm your boss doesn't mean that I can't be your work buddy
Right.
anymore, right? Or even your friend, because I've seen bosses have friends,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so I have seen things where if an employee is promoted, that they're told that you can't be friends with them anymore. You're
Mhm.
not supposed to hang out with them.
Sure.
So now they create this division
Right.
that the employees sometimes don't even know is happening.
Mm.
So you see it on both sides where the employee feels some type of way that now their friend is the boss. But then you also have the new boss that is being told that you should not commingle with your staff, that the employee doesn't know is happening. And now you have
Mhm.
this friction between these
Mhm.
two people where if it would have just been left alone, they would have been totally fine and
Mm.
allowed them to navigate it and just talk to those new leaders about healthy boundaries and healthy relationships with your staff. There's just some things you don't do with your staff that you know you're not supposed to do. But then you have situations where people are friends and they come
Right.
into the working environment. What you do with that? You tell them no, you can't hang out, because you're working together now. I just think that organizations have to be more open minded
Sure.
and just have more conversations.
Well, I think for so many of them organizations are basing their value on my P&L. Is am I showing a profit, right?
Mhm.
And again, this is a changing mindset type
Right.
situation of yeah, and when I have a toxic work environment and my people don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, they don't feel understood, they're not producing the
Right.
revenue that you need them to produce as well. So, can you talk
Mhm.
about how maybe you've seen an organization that you've worked with, how the actual organization lifted because of creating a better workplace?
Um, I would say that organizations that I have worked with that have really been intentional about the health and well-being of their employees are mainly those smaller organizations that are
Mm.
like family
Mhm.
type organizations, and they remain true to the essence of the mission of the
Sure.
organization. What I have experienced is that small organizations that has that growth, because they grow, they kind of lose what the mission and the values
Mm.
of what that organization is, because now they're making more money, or they're generating relationships and partnerships with other entities that's requiring something different. I'm
Sure.
giving you money now, so that means that this is what I'm looking for with my investment.
Right.
But those organizations that say, you know what, no, we're okay with how it is. That's how we are at Changing the Mindset. Changing the Mindset is I'm not I'm not interested in the multi-million dollar company,
Mhm.
right? I
Mhm.
want us to stay true to what we say we do. We promote healthy working environments, which means that within Changing the Mindset, we are an organization that also models same set behaviors.
Sure.
So my staff work from home, right? My staff can work hours that works best for them and their families. We have constant check-ins to make sure that everyone is okay. If my staff are working with clients and they feel overwhelmed, then they're able to take some time off to reflect on themselves and their well-being. So it's all about what the organization, I think we talked about this, the true mission and values of the organization.
Right.
And those organizations, they are rich because they decide to stay where they are, and they thrive. They thrive a
Mm.
lot longer, like your mom and pop
Mhm.
businesses.
Mhm.
They thrive a lot longer than others because they are not willing to change the essence or the foundation or the mission of the organization, because now they're making more money.
Sure. Sure.
They're okay with where they are. And the organizations that I have worked with that are smaller, they have been around longer because they wasn't willing to take extra money to grow. They were okay with where they were because they didn't want to change. They
Mm.
believed in, this is the foundation of our organization. This is what we stand for, and this
Right.
is what we always going to stand for.
Mm.
And we're okay here. We're okay here. Mhm.
Yeah, I think of a conversation I had, I think with Joe Gonzalez from Vera Bank, recently and we reflected on Toyota. And of course, Toyota, largest car manufacturer, right? And they had this vision and this idea that they were going to be number one in car manufacturing.
Yeah.
And in the desire and in the journey to do that, they found that they all shifted their gears from their values based driven focus to production driven focus. There's this external pressure, right? Shareholder pressure, as you mentioned, dividends. We've got this now. We've put it out in the world that we're going to do this, therefore I must do it.
Right.
And right, all of this pressure on them to do so and to reach this particular arbitrary
Level,
number,
yeah.
right? This level. And so they reach it and they celebrate. But then immediately their celebration gets cut off because they start getting recall to the tune of like 8 million recalls in this very specific amount of time. And they're like, we lost who we were.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember hearing about this story and how Toyota's president and CEO was on a press conference and had to take a very humbling apology and address essentially the world who put their trust and faith in Toyota to stand on their values, but who got swayed by the pressure. And, that's a big example. And 8 million is a big number,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be. I think about all of these small businesses who started with a very specific mission, maybe like Toyota, maybe like Top Hat Chimney, with this value of saying, we want to provide peace of mind service. Maybe something as lofty as Unbreakable Enterprises that say we want to help heal the human, to heal the family, to heal the community, to heal the world, right? That's our value. And we, in order to reach those things with excellence, must stay in alignment with why we do what we do and create the leadership infrastructure to sustain it.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And I mean, and we see it often. I've seen it happen when you have your small organizations and they get that big boom. And it's like, oh, we finally made it. And then, we celebrate. We celebrate the $1 million grants. We celebrate, the uptick of clients. We celebrate that.
Right.
But then at what cost?
Right.
Because now you have your staff that you have to be concerned about their health and wellness.
And once you reach it, you have to sustain it.
You have to sustain it. Absolutely. Because most people don't realize that with grants, they can be maybe from 3 to 5 years. So at least you have that 3 to 5 year mark. But with some corporations, it's only that 1 year.
Sure.
So you get that boom that year. And then next year, now you have to figure out how we continue this. Now that's when you're like, oh my God. Now we have to get out here and promote. Now we have all the things that we were not doing when we was comfortable and secure. Now we have to start doing, because this only happened once. It may take care of us for a little bit, but we start back over at zero.
Right.
So we have to bring this back, right? And I think that's the part that people miss. That's why I say it always go back to the financial piece, right? Because you'll see a business that, hey, they got a $15 million grant. Yay, we celebrate. Oh, but next year they're back at zero. Next year they're back at zero.
We got to start all over.
Got to start all over again.
And where's the funding coming from? Has the political environment shifted? Is there still funding in that particular industry? Right.
And then some funding sources, you have to spend that money that year. I give you 15 million, you got to spend it this year.
Which sounds like a really good problem.
Yeah, but then what about next year?
Right. And now you've got all this staff and these people that count on you and these promises and programs, and then it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, because if a funder, and that's why even when we talk about grant funding, when you ask for funding and you receive that funding, then you have to be able to sustain it after. That's why the funders will ask for a sustainability plan. When we can no longer give you money, or after the money is gone, then what are you going to do to continue to provide these services in the community? So if we give you, let's just say 15,000, we give you $15,000 for this program year. What happens to these families and these children when you no longer have that 15,000? What is your plan?
Right.
So that goes back to the point of, we get the 15,000, yay, we celebrate. But then what happened next year?
Right. Right.
What are we going to do next year? So now we're in this rat race to bring in this money every year to sustain.
Which goes right back to leadership. Right back to taking the time, instead of getting swayed by or the pressure of performance and all of those things that you're not ready for yet. Right. Getting back into alignment with, okay, who am I as a human? Who am I as an organization? Who am I as an entity? Who are we as a team? Right. Get that back into alignment so that you have the ability to sustain, to be able to continue your efforts and not burn out or not feel like a failure. Like, how many people feel like a failure when that anomaly is gone?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because you would have an organization or a business that have an increase in revenue, whether it's through grants or donors or contracts, and they will hire new people.
Or an ice storm.
Right. Ice storm, right? They will hire more people, but then they can't make the money back.
Right.
So now they have to let these people go.
Right.
So now you have caused some conflict in these people's lives.
Right.
And you have some people that may have left another job and come to work for you, and now they're unemployed.
Or uprooted their families. We see that all the time.
Yeah, uprooted their families, absolutely. Yeah. So that's one thing that I really try to think about when we talk about the growth and scaling of changing the mindset. We're growing. I'm okay with the growth, but do I want to scale?
Sure.
You know, do I want to be in a position to where I bring in a certain amount of money and I have to hire new people, and then now we have to get in this. Now we have to get out here and tussle and hustle
Yes.
to maintain and sustain, where we're okay where we are.
Yeah.
It's peaceful where we are. You know, so am I willing to sacrifice my peace for a little bit more money? For some people, yeah, it's you know, it's important for them, it's necessary for them. So I'm not saying that. But then there are some other people that say, I'm okay. I'm okay where I'm at. And if I want to grow, and I mean, if I want to scale, you know, we can, but I'm okay where we are. Cause I know what comes with that. You know, whenever someone say scale, I say, do you know what that means?
Do you know, I am never at peace when I have to get on a scale.
Cause it goes up.
Girl. Okay, bad joke, especially in January. But I mean, that's the truth. You know, sometimes we think that scale is a positive thing, and for some it is a very positive thing.
It's a buzzword.
But again, it's a pressure of outside noise that could be distracting from who we are. And I think, Dr. Shmeka, as we really prepare this year of alignment and we try to position ourselves to get into alignment, it does mean that sometimes we have to say no to certain things. To recalibrate, to get back into focus with where we're going, who we are, and be okay with that. Like, I'm pretty okay with where God wants to put me. I think he's pretty cool at being in charge of my life, right?
Yeah.
And I want to be in alignment with that step, which means I have to turn off some other noises and develop the me that he created me to be.
All right. And then the question I think of too is, what am I willing to sacrifice? Or what will I have to sacrifice?
Sure.
And I think that's my, you know, my biggest question too, besides the why am I doing this? What is my purpose? Right. But also, what will I have to give up in my comfortable, peaceful life if I do this? If I take on more clients?
Sure.
You know, if I take clients out of town, you know, I have now gotten to the place where I don't have to travel as much. And I love that for myself. I need a break.
Yeah.
So now when I have clients that reach out to me from out of town, I'd be like, man, if I take this client, pay is good, but But if I take this client, what will I have to give up?
Mm-hmm.
More time on the road, traveling, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Daughter's a junior? No, she's
it's
a
sophomore,
sophomore. Yeah.
sophomore in college, and so I mean, high school, sophomore in high school, a junior in college. I mean, I found a new church.
Yes, you did.
So, I mean, that takes away from being, going to church and doing worship. So it's like, what am I willing to give up? What do I have to sacrifice? And is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth it?
And is it filling that cup
Yeah, right.
in the
Is it
way that
filling the
you
cup?
need it to
Yeah,
be filled?
that's a good point. Is it
Yeah.
filling the cup? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you, and wrapping up today, if you were to tell somebody, since this is all about alignment and really leadership alignment, if there was three things that they could do to really make sure that they're in alignment with the leader that they are. I mean, I believe that all of us are leaders at a capacity. We're leaders in our community, leaders in our household, maybe leaders in an organization or a nonprofit. But if there's three things that you think a leader could learn to develop that would help bring them into alignment, what would you recommend?
Let me think for a second. Mm, to bring them in alignment. I would use three things that I do that kind of help me. My new year starts on my birthday.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, my new year starts on my birthday, and
Because it is your new year.
yeah, it's my new year. Yeah, new year. And I always set goals for myself for the next year. That would be my first thing, right? Evaluate last year
Mhm.
and then set some new goals for the upcoming year or reevaluate, right? And if this is your first year starting this and setting goals, then I would say set some new goals, some things that you would like to accomplish. And be realistic, smart goals. Make sure you're being realistic and that these are some things that you can actually do and attain. But if this is something that you do ongoing, like for myself, I review what last year was like. Um, I modify goals accordingly, and I make new ones if I need to, or if I feel like there's a need to do so. The second thing I would do, in conjunction with looking at those goals, is also evaluating my circles. Making sure that
Yeah.
my friendships and my partnerships, personal and professional things align. Like, am I still interested in these things? Are they still serving me purpose? Or do they align with my goals and where I'm trying to go? Can I let some things go? This year, I'm really going to be intentional about letting some things and people go and be okay with that. Because it's about alignment. I know where I'm supposed to be going. It's very clear. My directions and my directives have been very clear
Mm.
on the path that I am walking in, and I'm going to have to shed. I'm going to
Sure.
have to shed. So I would say that reevaluate the people and things that are in your life, and then also take time for yourself.
Mm.
Like, take time for yourself. One of my goals, that has been a goal for a long time, is to get plenty of sleep.
Mm.
Get plenty of sleep. I shut down and shut off about 9:30, 10 o'clock after I finish teaching my night classes, and I get some rest.
Mm.
I really have learned to prioritize my health, in my body, what I eat, what I feed my mind. And then also just taking some time for myself. I think I told you on Fridays is my oyster day. Like, everyone now knows
Oh,
that on Fridays I go and have oysters and lemon martinis. That's my thing. I go by myself if I have to. I may bring a friend if they want to join me. But everyone now says, okay, well, I know Friday is your oyster day. You want to go get oysters? I'm
oh,
like, yeah, I'll never turn down oysters. But especially, I don't eat them on the months that you're not supposed to eat them, because they say there's certain times of the year that you're not
oh,
supposed to eat them.
that would be every month for me.
But no, I do that, and if I don't do oysters, I do lobster rolls.
I could do
Like,
that.
yeah, okay, so we can do lobster rolls. And I think, as much money as I spend on other things, I think that it's okay for me to spoil myself a little bit every now and then, and
Yeah.
and that's something that I partake in, and so yeah, that's what I would recommend. And a lot of this stuff is personal,
Mhm.
because what we experience is that even as a entrepreneur and a business owner and as a professional, you need work life balance.
Mhm.
And there's so many things I can tell you about the job. You need professional development. You need to do some career exploration, all of those things. And those are things that we know, but we don't do enough of talking about taking care of yourself.
Right.
And so I would really like for people to prioritize the leader in themselves by personally applying some things to themselves so they can be better people,
Yeah.
because it's about character too, not just the skill set.
I think that is so good. And what are we leading if not first ourselves,
Right. That's
right?
true.
And how can we have that integrity as we show up if we're not honoring self? And that's so hard, right? Because we don't live in a culture that really promotes true honoring of self, mind, body, spirit. We don't.
Right.
We live in a culture that says it's all about me and more entitlement, but not really honoring
Hmm.
mind, body, spirit. And so
Right.
I love that. And I believe people will take that to heart. So setting goals,
Hmm.
evaluating circle, and taking time for self. I
Right.
think that is so incredible. And when's your birthday?
April 18th.
April 18th. So I'm going to text you. Am I still in your circle, girl?
Yeah. Of
Just
course.
kidding.
Of course.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for your time today
Thank you
and
for
for
having
oh,
me.
it's always so fun to get to
Yes.
sit with you and have conversation and just hear your brilliance.
Thank you, Freya. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're so welcome. Well, friends, I know you enjoyed this conversation with Dr. Shmeka, and I know that you probably resonated with a lot of the things that we talked about today. Because let's face it, we're living in a time that is pulling us in so many directions, and true purpose is always found when we recalibrate and get back into alignment. And this discussion around leadership, I think, is one of the best ways to be in alignment because, by the way, alignment is led by a leader. So I hope that you enjoyed this talk with Dr. Shmeka. And I'll tell you, as we step into the year of alignment and step on the stage, in fact, just 7 days away from today, you will find that all of our speakers are speaking about getting back into alignment. From Coach Steve Anderson, Olympic gold coach from Japan, is going to be talking about the way that we show up as leaders and elite athletes is really the same that we show up as leaders in organizations and in families. It's learning how to perform under pressure. Dr. Val is going to be giving us tips on how to honor our bodies so we can perform better in a world that's wanting to pull at us in so many ways. So I hope that you'll embrace this year of alignment, and allow it to be the year that brings you back into your purpose. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you next time with Unbreakable Enterprises. Have a great day.